to Annoyed Kitchen, and today I thought we were going to... Skorpan, I'm trying to film here. So today we are going to do Swedish smorgastorta, Swedish sandwich cake, and make sure that you have your trusty cat with you. Skorpan, kan jag få filma? Va? Please? I'm trying to make content for my YouTube channel here. No? Sorry guys, no smörgåstårta because annoyed.
No worry, there will be smörgåstårta. But first, a short history of this Swedish delicacy. This is not a sweet cake that looks like a sandwich. This is actually a sandwich. Savory layers on white or rye bread, garnished with savory things like salad, tomatoes, and roses made out of smoked salmon. For once, I can genuinely tell you, this is not stolen from the Germans. No, this little delicacy is something that seems to be invented up here in Sweden. It is also very popular in Finland, Estonia, and Iceland, that has their own versions, of course. How old this dish is, well, that's a little depending on how you count. There has been so-called striped sandwiches that very much resemble a sandwich cake from around 1920. The first mention of it as a cake is from 1935. It very quickly became one of our most popular party food that we have up here in Sweden. In Sweden, we have a long tradition of viewing an open-faced sandwich as a meal. And before the smörgåstårta, we had a couple of different fancy sandwiches that was popular to serve as a bit of a festive starter or a small meal during a party. Very often these sandwiches feature shrimp and mayo, and that is also the most common version of the sandwich cake if you go out and buy one. We have this type of food all kinds of celebration the year round, but it is particularly used during Midsummer and other summer parties because it is cold food that goes very well to a warm day where you want something festive that most people will like. So I thought I would show you how to make your own Swedish sandwich cake, and even though the most common version is the salmon and shrimp, or both, and though that version is very good, I am a bit tired of that, so I'm gonna make one with roast beef, bacon, guacamole, and eggs. You will find the recipe in the description below, but the great thing about this cake is that you don't have to follow a recipe. You mix whatever flavors and layers that you like the best. It can be anything from liver pate, beef, salmon, shrimp, to a vegetarian or even a vegan version. Only your imagination sets the limit. And the best part, if you have a big midsummer party with a lot of different people coming, is that you can make several smaller ones with different things on them, so everyone can find their preferred flavor. And it's also very easy to adapt to allergies and vegetarians and other food preferences.
So, I thought I would show you how to do a Swedish sandwich cake, and I thought this is going to be a fabulous, amazing cooking show. No, not really, but at least I thought it would be a good filming. Nothing is going right today. It's over 30 degrees Celsius out there, which is very much for a delicate Swede like me, and also I'm slightly hungover. Well, let's start, and it's gonna be a little bit of mix with filming and pictures because yeah. So welcome to Hungover Cooking with Agnes.
So, first you cook your eggs hard-boiled and fry your bacon. It is a lot easier if you actually turn on your stove while frying bacon, which I noticed after a couple of minutes when nothing happened to the bacon. And that's my cat, wanting bacon. And of course you need to have your Swedish lösgodis, which means different types of candy that you buy per hectogram. This to strengthen you for the task. There, the bacon is fried crispy. And this is a lying bastard. My egg timer did not work as it should because those eggs are not hard boiled at all. This is a bit of a problem, and you will see me swear over this lying bastard more further on in the video. But what you are supposed to do is to chop up the eggs and put it in a bowl for later. Then take out a deep pan and line it with baking paper. I usually line the edges too, but this time I decided that since this cake will go to a picnic, it would be easier to travel with it if it stayed in the pan. Yeah, there's the bread. I have no idea what I am doing in this clip. Ah, the bread. You cut off the edges of the bread, because those are dry and hard and you want just the soft inside. You also want them as square as possible, and you will understand why in a minute. Because when you line them up in the baking tray, you don't want any big gaps of them. And all this, well, dry it and make breadcrumbs out of it. You can use it in other type of baking in the future. No need to toss this. And here is the darker bread. I use a light dark rye bread combined with light toaster bread. This to get a bit more flavor to the bread layers and also a nice striped look when you cut into it. I am also a bit upset about this dark bread because it was a big dent in the side, which means I have to cut off a lot of it to get the even squares, and that means the squares get smaller and I need more bread. Satana. Okay, so you have your lined baking tray and you just fill up the bottom with one layer of bread. It doesn't matter if you put your dark or your light bread first. The importance here is that they need to lay close to each other so that you don't have any gaps. And if you plan to make it out of the pan, use the smaller bits in the middle instead of the edges like I, for some unimaginable reason, decided to do here. That will make the corners more sturdy if you have whole pieces of bread there. Like I said, I choose to let this stay in the tray today because it's gonna be easier to travel with it. But if you want it out, line the edges and then just tip it upside down with your serving plate after it firmed up in the fridge, and you can start decorating from there. Then you butter the first layer. I normally just butter the bottom layer because that makes a nice barrier for the bread and makes the bottom layer sturdier, because if you tip it upside down later, you will have that as your top layer. You can batter all the layers if you want to. I usually don't because I think it gets too much butter in it and that's not to my taste. But there are no rules here. After you've done this, eat some bacon and contemplate your life choices. Why did you really need to do this when you are hungover and it's hotter than hell outside? After contemplating your life, start slicing up your roast beef. I buy pre-cut slices because that way I get them as thin as possible. The idea here is to make small pieces that will go easy in a sauce and then spread over the bread. And for some reason it seems I have completely forgot how to use a knife properly. This is a very messy cutting. But it doesn't really matter. Everything will be in a nice mess in the end. Put all your chopped up roast beef in a bowl and dunk in a package of cream cheese in the bowl. Usually it is just to tip it upside down on the bowl and the cheese will fall out. Not today. I am not much for measuring things, so you will find the right amount in the recipe, but here I am just taking 2 big spoons of mayo, which is sort of 1 deciliter or so. This is not an exact science. It is a bit of around this much, and then you taste as you go and get it as you like it. Getting the lid off the Boston cucumber was apparently very hard and needed swear words and a towel. And again, I don't measure so carefully, I just take a big spoon of it. And then you stir together into a nice mess and season it a bit with black pepper and salt if you need to. This roast beef I am using had enough taste, so I didn't need anything more than this. Spread your roast beef filling out on the bread and try to get it even. This is just like making a normal sweet cake, but instead you have savory fillings. When you have spread out the filling, put it on the next layer of bread. And clearly I did butter the next layer too. I have no idea why I did that, because normally I don't, but cooking hangover in 30 degrees, you sometimes apparently do strange things. Okay, so now let's do the egg filling. You have your bowl with your chopped up eggs, and you add a generous spoon of mayo and 2 spoons of creme fraiche to it. To be honest, this is when I regretted not measuring because I used too much creme fraiche and it got a bit runny. Making it too loose is not a big disaster if you make it the day before, and you can just put the egg filling in the fridge to firm up before putting it on the cake. I was a bit stressed and didn't really have time for that, but it would have been better with more mayo and less creme fraiche. Anyhow, put some very fine chopped up red onion in the mix. You need half an onion here and half in one of the other fillings, so I just mixed up one whole onion and divided the mix. I use red onions because it has a less stronger flavor than the yellow onion, and thus it doesn't take over as much. But you can use yellow onion if you want to. After the onion is put in salt, nutmeg and black pepper after taste. And again, I don't measure carefully. I take a hint of that and a hint of this. It is really hard to say how much you need when it comes to spices, because it is so up to each and all how they like it. Nutmeg is optional and can be changed for other type of spices. If you don't like nutmeg, don't use nutmeg. But I like it. So put in a little at a time and taste. Yep. And slamming your foot into a chair, that is also very optional. Contemplate your life again. Eat some bacon. Time to make the bacon filling. Take out some pieces to use for decoration and chop up the rest and put it in a bowl. This filling usually don't need any extra salt because the bacon is salty enough. Then put in mayo, creme fraiche, cream cheese and red onion and stir it together. I used a smaller amount of mayo here and a little more creme fraiche because the cream cheese will help with the firmness of the filling, so it doesn't risk becoming as runny as the egg filling that doesn't have cream cheese in it. Contemplate why you have an extra spoon. Realize that you took the spoon that was in the creme fraiche container and used that one and feel a bit like an idiot. This is also very optional and nothing I recommend. The last filling we will do is the avocado. You can use guacamole here, and you need to have avocado that is actually ripe, which I don't have here, so I tried to get the green stuff out and just decided it was not worth the trouble, so I tossed it. But like I said, you can use a normal guacamole here. You can even go and buy one of those pre-made guacamole. No, please don't even try that, Agnes. You're an idiot and you will hurt yourself. So, what I was saying here was that whatever you have in your layer is fine as long as it goes well to the other layers. I wasn't sure if the garlic would clash with the roast beef, so I decided to just have a layer of mixed avocado and put it together with the bacon filling. But I can say after tasting the cake that I could totally have made a normal guacamole. Perhaps not have had too much of the garlic in it so it overpowered everything, but it would have worked. I used 4 avocados. 5 would not have hurt, but it's hard to get avocados in Sweden. They are either too unripe or too ripe. So 4 was what I had that I could use. And if you, like me, get annoyed over these avocados, take your frustration out while mixing them. When they are nicely mixed, spread the filling out over the bread layer. Over your layer of avocado, you use the bacon filling. Just carefully spread it out into an even layer, and as you see, I am now reaching the top of the baking tray. As I said earlier, normally I let the cake firm up overnight in the fridge and then flip it out of the pan again before decorating. But regardless of, don't worry if it goes over the edge. The fillings should not be so runny that they go all over the place anyway. The pan is mostly to help with the shape so you get straight edges. Now it is time for the next bread layer. Don't press down super hard so the cake get all smashed, but press down a little bit gently so that the layers sticks to the bread. And normally I would not use the smaller pieces at the edges. I would put those in the middle, But right now, since it is not supposed to come out of the pan, I just made sure to cover the layer. As your last filling, put in the egg filling you made earlier. As you can see, this is very runny and it should be a lot firmer. I am not happy with this one. And if I would have been smart, I would have put this at the bottom of the cake instead. But it will firm up during the night. And then put on your last layer of bread. Cover everything with either aluminium foil or plastic wrap and put it away in the fridge for at least a couple of hours. And now it's time for decoration, the best part. Cover the top layer, or if you have taken it out of the tray, cover the whole cake with a layer of creme fraiche. You can also use mayo, a mix of mayo and creme fraiche, or cream cheese, whatever rocks your boat. And then I used roasted onions. I don't know if this is a Nordic thing or if it's available in other parts of the world, but it is deep fried roasted onion that makes a kind of onion sprinkles. We normally use it on hot dogs. I went for a kind of standard simple decoration here, but you can decorate exactly how you like. And then I put on the eggs, which caused a whole lot of swear words because of that lying bastard of an egg timer. Hard-boiled eggs looks much cleaner and better than these horrible eggs. So I had to contemplate life for a moment and eat some cucumber, because now the bacon was no more. I'm pissed and hungover. But I went on with the decorations, putting on some cucumber, some bacon and tomatoes, and then some roast beef roses. And ta-da! Here we have it! Our Swedish smörgåstårta is done. I do hope that you enjoyed this video with all the swear words and mistakes I did, and that you make your own smörgåstårta so you can have a taste of it. It is very delicious, and we enjoyed it very much during the picnic. Thank you for watching, and all the best midsummer wishes from Sweden.